My name is Harriet Kelly Gibbe. I'm a strategic planner for nonprofits and small businesses. So I help them drive their message into the community and give the community of Dallas an opportunity to connect with them, hear about their mission, and get behind their project, whether it's through volunteerism or fundraising or the multitude of other things that nonprofits and small businesses need to stay grounded and focused and do the work that they love to do. So how I found you. I found you through Yvette. Yvette and I worked together on an organization called Women That Soar. We were producing a live show for them, and we've been friends ever since. I came to realize that working for nonprofits was for me because it's just constantly been in my life. My father was a Methodist minister, so I grew up watching this man in the pulpit inspire people with words and performance. And then he became director of the civil rights movement in Houston. So when I grew up, our dinner table conversation was all about how do you change community? How do you change consciousness? How do you create equality in the way people think and feel about one another? And that was the foundation that I grew up in addition to even the earlier years than that, talking about spirituality and how to bring people to some greater awareness and understanding of how significant they are and how much they matter and how to connect them, how to connect them, how to connect them. That was always a real important theme in the family I grew up in. So I started out acting in the theater in Houston, the Alley Theater, at a very young age of 8. And the first time I heard someone laugh and applaud for something I'd done, I was like, this is my life's calling. My favorite part of acting was the costuming. And I realized that you really don't find the costume. Most of the time, you don't find the character that you're playing as an actor until you get in costume. So what was that magic that happened for me in costumes? That was always something that was fascinating to me, and I loved the process of costuming. So graduated from the University of Texas in Austin with a degree in television performance. Went to work in an advertising agency and design firm. So I started writing and producing corporate pieces and communication pieces for small businesses, large businesses, real estate firms in Houston. Was an award-winning writer-producer, which was just such a wonderful thing to discover that, you know, I was actually good at writing and producing when I'd always thought I was mostly just an actress. Not just an actress, but to find out that I could also write and produce was thrilling and exciting and a significant change for me. My husband and I came to Dallas in 1982 to start our own film production company, which we did and had for 25 years. To help us get started, I went back to acting with the Kim Dawson Agency here in Dallas to help us get on our feet with our film production company, and unexpectedly had a career as a model with the Kim Dawson Agency for 15 years and traveled with Neiman's and modeled for almost every major designer in the 80s and 90s in the world. So it was a blessing and a special opportunity that came a little later in life than I expected. And one day I woke up and thought, this is really a lot of fun, I'm enjoying it, and I love what I do, but I want to do more. As a model, I felt like I was being underutilized. So I started writing and producing fashion shows for the designers and retailers that I worked for. And one of my first clients was all the fashion shows that I modeled for in Dallas specifically, not in other parts of the country, but certainly in Dallas. Almost every fashion show I did was for a nonprofit. It was a fundraiser for a nonprofit. And then the first show I produced was for the Salvation Army. It was in '87. I think my son was 2 years old. And Kim Dawson, who is a mentor of mine, said, "Girl, I got to produce a show for the Salvation Army. They want to raise more donations. They were not interested in money. They wanted more stuff for the adult rehab center." She said, "Well, you want to do that with me?" And I said, "Sure." And then she disappeared, which was Kim's way of mentoring you into jobs. And it was a delight. So I started producing a fashion show, fundraiser for the Salvation Army, originally just to raise donations. So I produced a fashion show out of just jeans and t-shirts and old Victor Costas, who was a big designer in the 80s here in Dallas. and one day decided it needed to be more. So another mentor friend of mine in the modeling business connected me with several Crystal Charity Best Dressed ladies, and we started asking them for donations from their closets so that we could make a professional runway show out of the clothes instead of just making the runway show about jeans and t-shirts and Victor Costas. So that became the foundation of what I do today, which is work with nonprofits, strategically design an event for them, whether it's a fashion show or an awards show or some other kind of fundraising event that gives them an opportunity to drive their message into the community annually. These are annual shows. The Salvation Army show is in '87, so it's been going on for years and years and years. It makes them millions of dollars. I like to design things. I've had the opportunity to work with so many different nonprofits that I like to design things that have big, strong legs and can last them for years. And it's strategically planned to appeal to the community of Dallas in a way that no other nonprofit will. Right now I'm working with several organizations. One is called Dress for Success, and I designed a father-daughter fashion show for them. And that's to give the women that are clients of Dress for Success, many of whom feel have been marginalized by society or sometimes by men in their life, an opportunity to see that there are men that love you and support you and will mentor you through money and fundraising. They're actually going to bring their daughters and model in a fashion show. So it's all ages. It's a father-daughter fashion show, and it's a beautiful opportunity to bring the community together to find out about the work of Dress for Success. Another one is Texas Scottish Rite Hospital for Children, which is probably the leading pediatric orthopedic surgery center in the world. They really wrote the book on pediatric orthopedics, literally. And 7 years ago, they asked me to design something that would bring more attention to the work they do. So I designed an event called Accessible Luxury. We called it Accessible Luxury because we wanted to do a high-end luxury goods fashion show. And 6 years ago, we were in the middle of a recession. So it was not fashionable to do a high-end luxury fashion show. So we titled it Accessible Luxury, and it's hit. I mean, it's been an interesting success story for the hospital and for the community because luxury fashion has needed to become more accessible, not just because of the economy, but that's the trend that's going on right now. So we kind of hit something that we've been real excited about, and we're working on the event right now. We've designed the event around Oscar de la Renta, the New York runway show, for a couple of years, and Barney's when they were here for 2 years. This year it's the stores of Highland Park Village, several stores with Highland Park Village, and it's just an honor to bring people to awareness of what the hospital does. Nobody has ever paid for a surgery, ever, regardless of your ability to pay, when they work and come to the family of Texas Scottish Rite Hospital. I think it's been the success that I've seen with the clients that I have created events for. To see that the event that I created in 1987 for the Salvation Army Women's Auxiliary has turned into this mammoth, epic production that goes on year after year with thousands of women clamoring for tickets, and they just have such a good time. And realizing, I think because I've been honored to be in this profession as long as I have been, realizing the impact that fashion has. It's such an innocent way to bring people together for a fashion show and entertain them and tell them about someone's mission, and to realize that fashion itself really can change your consciousness. That's a pretty broad statement, but I've seen it happen year after year after year, over and over and over. So it's a great way to see the change, and it's an international language. Fashion is an international language. If you live anywhere in the world, regardless of the language you speak, you can play in the fashion world. If you ever have access to the internet or any magazines or any media, you can see and play in fashion. I've done several shows with European designers. They spoke no English and I spoke none of their language, and we got along extremely well. You just have to love fashion and know how to play the game. If I could talk to a younger version of Harriet, I would say just keep doing what you love. Just keep doing what you love. It'll always work out. You'll always have fun. You're going to have rough times, but that's where I really have built character and built patience and built trust. To love what I do as much as I do has been a gift, and I would tell any young person, my boys, as they go forward in their careers, just make sure you love what you do. because there will be long, many long nights, especially if you're starting something. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm always starting things that haven't been done before. That gives me juice. It takes an enormous amount of energy and a lot of sleepless nights. You know, like the night before a fashion show, you're usually up till all hours of the night. The night before any big production, you're up till all hours of the night pulling it together. And if you love it, it's not work. It's your passion, it's your joy. You have the patience. I don't get afraid anymore things aren't going to work out. It always works out. I plan everything I can to the nth degree, and then I let it go. The night before, I plan and plan and plan. And when I wake up that morning, I let it go. I turn it over to God and say, I've done everything I can. It's yours. You let me know what I need to do next, and that's what I'm going to do. So if things don't work out the way I plan, which they never do, sometimes they do, but usually there are 1,000 things that have to happen on the day of a fashion show or a live event. And many of those things go as planned. Some of those things do not. And when they don't go as planned, I assume the universe has a better idea. So my job is just be in the moment, let the idea run through me, run the show, and do whatever needs to be done next, and remain patient. And trust the crew that I put around me that it's all going to be great, because it always is. It's fantastic, and it just gets better every year. Kim Dawson, my father, has inspired me a lot. My mother, are both very inspiring. They were very courageous leaders in the 60s and 70s and helped create the culture of having an African-American president and First Lady in the White House. And there were a lot of years that they said, oh my God, everything we've ever done is leading to nothing. Everything we've ever done has been destroyed. And then to see it turn around the way that it did, that's just the benefit of living long enough to see that the good work you do and the good work that's put out in the universe, it does make a difference. You can't always see it. Hopefully you'll live long enough to see the fruits of your labors. And it's hard, I think, if you don't see it, because you lose faith if you don't. But it's always there. So that's another lesson I've learned, is it's there. It's there, Harriet, the difference this makes, the difference this person has made. It's all there. You have to find it. You have to have the eyes to see it. Yes, I've had many challenges in my life, and I think being in the industry I'm in as a fashion model, one of the things you learn to do is just keep a smile on and look good no matter what is going on backstage. When you walk out on the runway, you're good. So that was a good life lesson in terms of being professional. It has some downsides, and that sometimes life looks more perfect than it is. So my parents had a lot of financial ups and downs, and that was a challenge growing up. But I learned I could take care of myself in college when they couldn't afford to pay for college anymore. And I got to pay for it myself. And I would have never done that if they hadn't said, we can't do it. And when I found out I could, I was like, I am so glad you guys ran out of money, because I found out I could take care of myself. I bought a car. I could pay for my education. Education was very different then. It was not nearly as expensive as it is now. But it turned out to be a very good thing for me. Starting a new business with my husband from the ground up was a challenge. And we stayed the course and had some really, really good years. I've had some issues in my family with children and others having problems with narcotics, and that's been an incredible challenge. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have found out who I am as a mom and as a human being in relation to turning that over to God and trusting that I couldn't control that. And it's part of the business now that I know I don't control the world. I just get to do what I do and do the best I can, and it always works out. Yeah, I stay centered through meditation and exercise. I meditate every morning for an hour, or at least 5 or 6 days a week, depending on what else is going on. Interestingly enough, the busier I am, the more committed I am to my meditation, and the more committed I am to the disciplines that are fruitful for me: meditation, exercise, etc. Yoga, meditation, exercise. Time with girlfriends is really important to me. Having a lot of time alone, 1 day a week, just turning off the phone, and I'll work on my laptop. And it's not that I turn off the phone, I actually use the phone, but I don't meet with people in person. I don't get dressed, I don't leave the house, I just stay in a ponytail and work on whatever's in front of me and follow my instincts and intuition that day, and it serves me extremely well to finally be okay. I used to feel guilty about doing that. So then I would make myself sick or something, so I have to do it anyway. And now I've learned, no, it's okay. This is good. Learning to follow my own intuition has been a lifelong struggle. It's been really hard. I have doubted myself so much in the past, and I think as women, we're more prone, I don't know that we're more prone to that because I'm not a man, I can't say, but as a woman I know I was always very prone to self-doubt. And I trust more and more every day that things are exactly as they need to be, and I can be grateful for exactly what I have at that moment. Oh my gosh, inspiration. When I think of the phrase, the power of woman, I think of inspiration, and I've done a lot of studying in women's brains and men's brains through seminars that I've done for women in the past, and one of the things I've learned is the different wiring of men's and women's brains. So, and they're all beautiful. What I've learned about women, and as a woman I've experienced this over and over again, when we get under stress, we are wired to connect to each other. We know our survival depends on one another. So we tend to hold hands when we get in stressful situations. We women want to gather our girlfriends around, hold hands, feel connected. When we feel connected, we feel safe. Men, on the other hand, when they get under stress, they want to individuate. I've got this, I'm leading, it's a very different mechanism. So we as women, as we step forward now in our leadership role, the Dalai Lama says that the world will be saved by the Western woman. So if you believe that, then we women have a real obligation to step forward. It's our turn. The men, you know, it's their turn to get to support us. And both jobs are wonderful. I love supporting the people in my life, and it's a little more difficult to watch them to accept the support that I receive, but it's there. So knowing that it's really kind of our challenge now to step up, and it's uncomfortable for us because we're afraid we're going to lose that connection if we lead. If I follow exactly what I think needs to happen, I'm afraid I'm going to lose connection with my friends. I'm afraid I'm going to be too individual and I'm going to be shunned by my community, because we're wired to believe that in this community. And I can look at my past and say, it's good, it's okay, step forward, take little chances and lead. And every time that happens, I get more and more confident of my ability that the world is not going to fall apart if I individuate myself. The world is not going to fall apart. I'm not going to lose friends if I step forward and share what I think to be true at that moment. In fact, things move a lot more smoothly on my set when I say, this is what we're going to do now, and this is what we're going to do now, instead of waiting. But, you know, move forward, take your step, lean in, as Sheryl Sandberg says. So, and for me, it's all inspiration. I can feel it when it's right for me, and learning to trust that instead of all the other voices in my head. I think that's been one of the greatest challenges, is which voice do I follow? Do I follow the one that's what I call the hamster wheel, or do I follow the one that's moving me in a positive way? Not the one that's making me angry. Sometimes there's a reason to speak up over that too. But most of the time I've discovered, and I think this is the result of all my meditation, when something is making me very, very angry, it's generally because I have misunderstood something. I have misunderstood some piece of information that has come my way, and I have a very strong negative reaction, and it's all from my past. It's really not about that moment. So for me, when I feel strongly about saying something, it's usually not about anger, although it could be, but it's usually about being inspired. Something has happened that I think is really worth saying, and it's worth mentioning, and it's exciting, and it connects people, and it lifts spirits. That's why I do what I do.